The normally bustling streets of the Amazon city were thrown into chaos as residents found themselves overwhelmed by swarms of insects. An unprecedented wave of bugs, from locusts to beetles, had descended upon the city, leaving scientists baffled and residents terrified. Dr. Amelia Hayes, an entomologist on a research mission, was among those trying to make sense of the bizarre invasion. Shop owners frantically tried to protect their goods, while families barricaded themselves indoors with makeshift screens. Birdsong was drowned out by the relentless buzzing and clicking, the usual rhythm of the city replaced by chaos and confusion. She quickly set up a temporary lab in her hotel room, examining specimens collected from the city center. She led efforts to understand why the insects had left their habitats, delving deeper into the heart of the rainforest for answers. The rainforest was eerily silent, lacking the usual hum of wildlife. Determined, Dr. Hayes pressed on, certain the key to the mystery lay within. What Dr. Hayes and her team discovered left them pale and speechless, revealing a hidden truth much darker than anyone had anticipated. Deep within the rainforest, they stumbled upon a devastated landscape. Trees had been felled and waterways polluted. As the insects continued to swarm, city authorities and residents scrambled to manage the situation. Insecticides were sprayed, but they proved ineffective against the sheer number of bugs. Volunteers worked tirelessly to clear public spaces, but the insect tide seemed endless. Swift measures were necessary to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. Panic spread as the sheer number of insects overwhelmed public services, and health concerns began to rise. Hospitals reported a surge in allergy-related cases and infections due to insect bites. People wore improvised masks and protective clothing, fearing the bugs carried diseases. Markets closed, and public gatherings were banned. Amelia collaborated with local scientists and environmentalists. The team discovered that many insects showed signs of unusual stress, hinting at disruption in their natural habitats. They noted damaged wings, erratic movement patterns, and abnormal feeding behaviors. Samples revealed increased levels of toxins, likely from polluted sources. This confirmed their suspicion that environmental destruction was the root cause. Specific species known to dwell deep in the forest emerged in the city, suggesting something abnormal was happening in their ancestral homes. Her team began tracing the insects' paths back to their origins, hoping to find the epicenter of the environmental disruption. Amelia and her team decided to venture deeper into the forest to investigate the root cause of the insect migration. While trekking through the forest, Amelia met a group of environmental activists who were striving to halt illegal logging and mining in the region. Intrigued by Amelia's mission, they invited her and her team to their camp to share information and join forces in uncovering the truth behind the environmental destruction. The activists showed Amelia maps and photographs documenting the rapid deforestation and pollution that confirmed her suspicions about the mass insect migration. This convergence of information pointed to a singular conclusion: the habitat destruction was driving the insects out, forcing them to seek refuge in the city. Tensions rose as conflicts erupted between the activists and those behind the illegal logging and mining operations. On several occasions, they narrowly escaped confrontations with armed loggers. Despite the threats, they remained resolved, documenting every act of defiance and environmental ruin. They witnessed acres of felled trees, scorched earth, and contaminated waterways. The destruction was staggering. The team meticulously documented their findings. Parallel to Amelia's journey, a secondary storyline emerged involving a group of miners led by a ruthless businessman. He directed his men to clear vast tracts of forest and mine precious minerals, leaving a trail of ruin in their wake. The havoc he unleashed played a central role in the ecological unraveling Amelia's team was documenting. A miner, feeling guilty about the devastation, attempted to leak information to Amelia's team, but faced dire consequences. Risking his safety, he managed to pass along crucial details about the businessman's operations. However, his betrayal was soon discovered, and he was met with harsh reprisals, serving as a chilling reminder of the stakes involved. The activists assisted Amelia in gathering and securing crucial evidence that could stop the illegal operations. Armed with cameras and sample kits, they ventured into the most affected areas, sometimes at great personal risk. Together, they documented polluted streams, felled trees, and the skeletal remains of what was once a thriving ecosystem. This collective effort produced a compelling case, showing the undeniable link between human activity and the insect migration. Local authorities provided little support initially, either out of fear or complicity with the illegal operators. Requests for assistance were met with silence or vague excuses, leaving Amelia and the activists to fend for themselves. As they documented more evidence, the lack of official backing became painfully evident. Amelia's team and the activists planned to release their findings to the media, believing that public outrage could drive action. They prepared reports, videos, and photographs, hoping to draw national and international attention. Analysis of insect samples revealed high levels of contaminants in their bodies. These toxins made the rainforest uninhabitable, forcing the insects to seek safer environments. This new information added urgency to their mission, as the pollution posed a threat not only to the insects but to the entire ecosystem and nearby human populations. The extent of the environmental damage meant they had to work quickly before more areas were destroyed. The illegal operators increased their surveillance, and threats against the activists escalated. Amelia changed locations frequently, but the risk of capture or harm was ever present. Tensions in Amazon City rose as more residents faced health issues and economic disruptions due to the insect invasion. Public frustration boiled over into protests, demanding immediate solutions. Amelia recognized that their findings were urgently needed to restore normalcy. Amelia and the activists held clandestine meetings, strategically planning how to expose the truth to the broader public. They decided to engage independent journalists and sympathetic politicians to amplify their findings and garner support. Each activist had a role, whether it was drafting press releases, contacting journalists, or setting up meetings with politicians. They reached out to media outlets that had a history of covering environmental issues. The goal was to create a rippling effect that would force the public and authorities to take notice. Amelia uncovered a critical piece of evidence, linking the businessman directly to the illegal operations. During one of their daring investigations, they found a hidden ledger in an abandoned mining site. The ledger detailed transactions and bribes, providing undeniable proof of the businessman's involvement. This piece of evidence could break the case wide open and add weight to their claims. The guilt-stricken miner, now an informant, provided Amelia's team with key documents and hidden recordings. He met them in the dead of night, handing over a satchel filled with crucial evidence. Inside were photographs, blueprints, and audio recordings of suspicious conversations. The miner's information painted a vivid picture of the illegal operation's scale and complexity. Amelia's team quickly copied and analyzed each document, adding this new trove of evidence to their expanding case file. As the team pieced together the evidence, they realized the scale of the environmental damage was truly catastrophic. Satellite images showed vast areas of deforested land, with entire ecosystems wiped out. Water samples taken from nearby rivers contained alarming levels of toxins. The evidence of destructed habitats was irrefutable. Their data not only documented the extent of the damage, but also showed a direct correlation to the swarms of insects now plaguing Amazon City. The activists organized public demonstrations to raise awareness about the destruction of the rainforest and its ecological impacts. Speeches were given, calling for immediate action and accountability. The demonstrations attracted attention from various media outlets, helping to amplify their message and urge the population to join their cause. Amelia's team faced attempts to sabotage their efforts, as those behind the illegal activities tried to silence them. Mysterious break-ins occurred, data files were corrupted, and surveillance increased. Intimidation tactics became an everyday challenge. The activists were followed, their phones tapped, and personal threats made against them. Despite these attempts to hinder their progress, Amelia's team remained vigilant. Amelia conducted a bold raid with the activists to document and capture live footage of the illegal operations in progress. Armed with cameras and recording devices, they ventured into the heart of the deforestation sites. The footage they obtained was undeniable evidence of the ongoing destruction. This daring raid provided crucial visual proof. As news outlets began to pick up the story, public outrage grew, putting pressure on local and international authorities to act. Headlines blared with images of the destruction, and TV reports showed the activists' footage. Social media buzzed with shared posts and calls to action. Petitions circulated, demanding accountability and change. The wave of public support was overwhelming. Governments could no longer ignore the issue. A global outcry emerged, demanding immediate action to protect the Amazon rainforest from further destruction. Social media campaigns went viral, amassing millions of supporters. Protest marches were organized in major cities around the world. Authorities were finally compelled to investigate, and initial steps were taken to halt the illegal activities. The exposure led to significant legal actions against those responsible for the illegal activities in the Amazon. Investigations commenced, and arrests were made. Courts heard cases against companies and individuals who prioritized profit over environmental sustainability. Heavy fines and sentences were imposed, serving as a deterrent for future violators. The legal system moved towards stricter enforcement of environmental laws. This crackdown illustrated that ecological crimes would not be tolerated and underscored the importance of protecting natural resources. Politicians announced the formation of special committees to address the crisis. Regulatory agencies tightened their oversight, and permits for new operations were suspended. Powerful mining and logging interests lobbied aggressively, attempting to discredit the activists. Media campaigns labeled Amelia's team as radicals. Legal battles emerged, challenging the legitimacy of the evidence presented. Despite these efforts, the activists remained steadfast, continuing their work on the ground. Determined to ensure long-term protection, Amelia proposed measures for sustainable development and strict environmental regulations. She worked with environmental experts to draft comprehensive policies, focusing on renewable resources and community-based management of forest areas. Public initiatives were launched to promote eco-friendly practices among local populations. The proposals emphasized the balance between economic growth and environmental conservation. These measures aim to protect the rainforest for future generations, while also addressing the immediate crisis. Amelia's team worked tirelessly to rehabilitate areas of the forest that had been ravaged by the illegal operations. Public and private organizations began to collaborate, providing support for restoring the damaged habitats. Corporate sponsors funded reforestation projects, while NGOs offered logistical and technical assistance. Governments provided financial incentives for sustainable practices. International aid flowed in, aimed at environmental recovery and community development. Amelia received international recognition for her efforts, drawing further attention to the need for rainforest conservation. Environmental awards and honors followed, celebrating her dedication. She and the activists continued to monitor the region closely, ensuring that the illegal activities did not resume under new guises. She conducted workshops on eco-friendly farming, sustainable logging, and conservation techniques. Translating complex scientific data into simple, actionable steps, she helped locals understand the importance of protecting their environment. As the illegal activities ceased, the influx of insects into Amazon City diminished, bringing relief to its residents. Streets that had been overrun by swarms began to clear. Public spaces slowly returned to normal, and businesses reopened. Hospitals saw a reduction in insect-related health issues. The mesh nets and sticky traps were removed, and the buzzing that had once filled the air grew silent. Life began to return to its usual rhythm, and peace was restored. The global community's response underscored the importance of collective action in addressing environmental crises. Governments, NGOs, and international organizations joined forces to provide aid and enforce stricter regulations. Environmental summits and conferences featured discussions on sustainable practices and conservation strategies inspired by Amelia's work. Social media campaigns and public programs raised awareness, leading to heightened global advocacy for rainforest protection. The unified effort demonstrated the power of global unity in tackling environmental challenges. Amelia continued to publish her findings, contributing valuable knowledge to the field of entomology and environmental science. Her articles appeared in scientific journals, spreading awareness of the ecological crisis and potential solutions. She authored papers detailing insect behavior changes, habitat disruptions, and the effects of human activities. Her work was cited in policy discussions and academic studies, establishing her as a leading voice in environmental conservation. Efforts to restore the affected areas of the rainforest began to show promising signs of recovery. Conservationists and local communities worked together to replant trees, and rehabilitate polluted water sources. Native plants and wildlife started to return, rejuvenating the once devastated ecosystem. Researchers monitored the progress, documenting the gradual healing process. Public and private funding supported these initiatives, ensuring continuous efforts. The combined dedication of various groups exemplified how collective action could bring about positive environmental change and restoration.